Hello guys, today we are going to the movie review. Movie name is Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. Directed by Sergio Leone is widely regarded as a masterpiece of the Western genre and a prime example of spaghetti Western cinema has a detailed review of the film. Plot summary in the film is set in the America frontier in the late 19th century and revolve around themes of revenge, greed, and justice. Is the introduction as a mysterious Hermogenica playing Konano as Hiromika, a ruthless outlaw named Frank, and a widow named Jill MC Bain, who inherits her late husband's land. As the story unfolds, this character's path interact amidst the backdrop of land disputes and the expansions of the railroad directed and stylish. Sergio Leone's director is masterful characters by long suspenseful shots, minimal dialogues, and focus on visual storytelling. The film is pacing builds tension, gradually culminating in a legendary shadow. The use of close-up sweeping landscape and innovations camera angles create a cinematic experience that is both epic and entertainment. Music. Ennio Morricone is iconic score integral to the film's atmosphere, the haunting harmonical motive and evocating music enhances the emotional depth and tension, making it one of the most memorable soundtrack in the film performance. Henry Fonda delivers a clean performance as the villain, Frank subverting his usual heroic roles. Charlie Bronson as a harmonic is stoic and enigmatic, while Cloud Cardinal provides compelling portrayals of Jill Absibates embodying resilience and determination. Themes. The film explores themes of vengeance, the transformation of the America West, and the moral ambiguity of its character, its narrative structure, and complexity elevate it beyond typical Western fare. Overall impressions Once Upon a Time in the West is a cinematic magnum opus that combines stunning visuals, memorable score, and profound storytelling. It stands as a testament to Leon's visions and remains influential in the Western genre and world cinema. Rating highly recommendation for fans of classic cinema, Western, and appreciating artistic filmmaking. It is considered one of the greatest film ever made in this genre. Once Upon a Time in West 1968 in-depth review introductions. Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West is often hailed as one of the greatest Western style film ever made a true epic of cinema that transcends genre conventions of beyond a profound meditation on sense, morality, and the method of the America Furniture released in 1968. This film marked a turning art from the with stylist innovations, philosophical depth, and technical mystery. Plot and narrative structure. The film's narrative is complex and layered, unfolding throughout a series of unfolded stories that revolve around themes of greed, revenge, and justice. It opens with a slow burn sequence involving a brutal murder of a man named Brett McSween and the subsequent arrival of Jill McSween sees a window for inherits a valuable piece of land in the West. Manuel, the film introduced several Harishman characters Hiromika, a mysterious silent genuine shows hunting musical motive hints at a person's prenatal Frank, a ruthless assassin working for land development, and Shine, a former outlaw with a complex moral code. The story gradually reveals the intricate web of motive, betrayals, and power struggle. Outlaw with a complex moral code, the story gradually reveals the intricate web of motive, betrayals, and power struggle that unveil the frontier transformation, culminating the legendary shadow and the symbolic definition of the end of the world. Old West Leon's natives line, neon liner, and daily spectacles emphasizing food and atmosphere. Our straightforward storytelling, the film's slow pace celebrate pause and methodical build up of tension serve to embrace a viewer into its mythic landscape and psychologically depth, directed and cinematic style. Sergio Leone's director is nothing short of visionary. He employs long, meticulous, composed shots that allow the vast landscape of Monument Valley to become almost characters in their own right. Their sweeping vistas evoke the grandeur and brutality of the West, emphasizing the scale of the transformation taking place. Leon's signature use of extreme close-ups, especially on the characters' eyes and hands, create an intimacy that contrasts with the expensive cinematography. These close-ups are often used to convey intense emotion, suspense, or menace, and they contribute to the film's tense, foreboding atmosphere. The director's mystery of pacing is evident in the film's slow, almost hypnotic rhythm which heightens antipathy and make the eventual violence feel even more impactful. Leon also innovates fail with his editing techniques using silence and side stillness to build suspense and utilize dramatic camera angles to enhance the narrative's thematic quality. Music and sound design. Ennio Morrison's score is arguably one of the most iconic aspects of Once Upon a Time in the West. The haunting harmonica motif played by Franco di Gemini served as a leitmotif for the film's themes of revenge and insanity. The score's sparse, evocating melody and atmospheric sound designs deepens the emotional response of each scan, whether it's a tense standoff or a quiet moment of reflections. Michael's music is not merely background, it is internal to the storytelling, often functions as an emotional guide that underscores the character's inner lives. The soundtrack blend of Western motifs with classic and avant-garde elements create a timeless universal soundscape that revealed the film's mythic structure, performance, and characterizations. Henry Fonda portrayals of Frank is revelations known primarily for heroic roles. Fonda's turn as the ruthless when subverts expectation and showcase his range as an actor. His clean, calculated demeanor and chilling cruelty make Frank one of the most memorable villains in cinema history. Charles Bronson as harmonica is stoic, enigmatic, and intense. His silent presence and pacing is create a sense of mystery and purpose, and his character backstory gradually unfold to reveal a tragic quest for justice and vengeance. Claudia, Cardinal Axel Pain embodies resilience and strength. Her performance captures the emotions core of the film. A woman caught in the brutal, changing world who refused to be broken. Her character's evolutions from grieving widow to a determined landowner, symbolic hope amid choose. Jason Roberts as Rehan adds depth to the outlaw archetype, portraying a morally ambiguous figure who operates according to his own code. His complex relationship with heroic and Jill adds a layer to the film's explorations of morality and redemption themes and symbolism. The film delves deeply into themes of change, of the end of an era, the West depicted as a palace of relentless transformation, really driven by greed, industry, progress, and the clash between old value and new ambitions. The railroad, which appears as both a symbol of progress and explorations, represent the unstoppable march of modernity. Revenge is a central motive with the heroic mysterious past driving his actions. Against Frank, the film quest noticed of justice, morality, and the nature of evil, blurring the lines between hero and villains. Leon employs powerful symbolic throughout the vast empty landscape, symboling both opportunity and desolations. The equity music motifs evoke uh, faith and invincibility, and the iconic stand of symbolic the mythic confirmations that define the West genre legacy and impact. Once Upon a Time in the West is a film that redefines West cinema that influenced countless filmmakers worldwide. Its stylized innovations, narrative depth, and thematic reception set new standard for cinematic storyline. The film influence can be seen in later westerns, action film, and even in contemporary cinema that seek to blend visual artistry with profound storytelling. The film also contributed to Sergio Leone's reputation as a visionary director and Sergio Ennio's Morricone's status as a legendary composer, its status as a cultural touchstone drew often in discussions of classic cinema. Conclusion: in summary, Once Upon a Time in the West is more than just a western, it is a poetic, philosophical meditation on the passage of time and the cost of progress and enduring human spirit. Its meticulous craftsmanship, evocating visuals, hunting music, and complex character make it a timeless masterpiece that continue to capturing educations and inspire filmmaking decades after its release for Cineplex. It's is a must-watch film that demands patience and reward you with a profound cinematic experience that resonates on multiple levels. Mm, In-depth analysis and review of Once Upon a Time in the West 1968. Uh, Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West stand as a towering achievement in the history of cinema, transcending the Western genre to become a quintessential example of cinematic artistry. Released in 1968 during a period of significant social upheaval and artistic explorations, the film challenged conventional storytelling and visual aesthetics, stabilizing itself as a monument of auteur filmmaking. Send rays, send rays of light to heart radiate. Send rays of light or heat radiate. Uh, Secret bells typical to access Rike's Gupta. Secret argument for fraudulent purpose collusions. Search in the dark, group fumble. Search for something, quest, coach. Secret religious meeting, conventicle. See with a group of many island archipelago. RCC Archipelago Deep Archipelago. So I tell you this now time I review uh, Rajasthan history कछुआ की। तो सबसे पहले बात करते हैं कछुआ राजाओं की। सबसे पहले कछुआ राजा थे दुल्हा राय, जिन्होंने 1137 में 1137 और एमपी से राजस्थान आए थे और बड़ गुजरों हराकर दूसरा पर अधिकार कर लिया था। दूसरा पर अधिकार कर लिया था। फिर उन्होंने रामगढ़ में मीणा थे उनको हटाया और वहाँ पे अधिकार कर लिया और रामगढ़ उनकी दूसरी राजधानी थी और वहाँ पर जम्बाई माता का मंदिर बनवाया था। जम्बाई की कछुओं की कुल देवी थी। और फिर आते दुल्हा राय के बाद काकिले, जिन्होंने मीणा राजा को हराकर आमेर पर अधिकार कर लिया था। आमेर जो तीसरी राजधानी ने वहाँ पर अम्बिकेश्वर मंदिर का निर्माण करवाया था। फिर आते हैं राजदीप, जिन्होंने आमेर में कदमी महल का निर्माण कराया जहाँ पे कछुओं का राजदीप होता था। फिर आते हैं भारमल, जिनका अगर हम शासनकाल की बात करें तो उनका शासनकाल 1547 से 1573 के बीच। उन्होंने मजनू का आवाज जगदे खां के साथ अकबर से मुलाकात की और 1562 में अकबर के साथ संधि कर ली। उन्होंने अपनी बहन हरकाबाई का विवाह अंग्रेजों के साथ अकबर के साथ किया। उनकी उपाधि थी मरियम उजमानी और उनका बेटा था जहांगीर। तो अकबर ने उसे 5000 का मंच प्रदान किया और अमीर उल उमरा की उपाधि प्रदान की। फिर आता है भारमल के बाद भगवत दास, इनका 1573 से 89 तक शासनकाल रहा और उनको पंजाब का गवर्नर बनाया गया था अकबर की तरफ से। So guys, in English, I review this review create to in English. So continue with me. I tell you new informations. So then Bhagwan Das very uh, I tell you by next king of Kachwaha, Mansan. This king work with three Badshah, one Jahangir second, Shahjahan third, Aurangzeb. Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West stand as a towering achievement in the history of cinema, transitioning a Western genre to become a quintessential example of cinematic artistry. Released in 1968 during a period of significant social upheaval and artistic experimentation, the film challenged conventional storytelling, the visuals artistry stabilizing itself as a monument to auteur filmmaking, often regarded as Leon's magnum opus. The film exemplifies his innovations approach, blending operations grandeur with gritty realism, employing grandeur-king cinematographer and integrating a haunting musical score that remains one of the most iconic in film history. Its influence extends beyond Western impressing filmmaking across genre and inspiring generations of cinema artists, historical and cultural context. In the late 1960s, Hollywood and European cinema were undergoing transformative shift. The traditional Western, once a symbol of American myth-making, was viewed with skepticism, and after examined thought darker, more complex stance, Leon as an Italian filmmakers working with Europeans perspective influence. Once upon a time in the West, with its scans of mystery, gravitas, and philosophical depth, contrasting sharply with the more straightforward westerns of earlier decades. During film also concerned with broader cultural questioning of progress, industrializations, and the myth of America, experimentation, the movie themes and reflections, a social introspection portraying the West of not as a nominalized island of heroes but as a brutal, evolving landscape shaped by greed, violence, and change. Plot summary and narrative complexity. Once upon a time in the West, instructed as an epic saga, viewing multiple storytelling into a tapestry. A mythic preparations, the film opens with a slow, almost meditatively sequence wherein a man is murdered and left to die, a brutal act that sets the one to tone for the story, darker underscoring the central narrative revolves around several enigmatic characters, harmonic, a mystery, silent humans was hunting, playing, and pacing. Kaja and a deeper personal quest. His backstory slowly unravels, revealing a tragic history linked to Frank the ruthless villain portrayed by Henry Fonda, who embodies cold, calculated evil. His calm, demeanor, and ruthless pursuit to make him one of the most chilling Villains in cinema history: William C. Bain, resistless window in Rome. In hers, her late husband Land symbolize hope and resilience amidst chaos. Julia Cordeline's performance captured her evolutions from mourning victim to determinate landowner. Channel a former outlaw with a moral code played by John Sosson. Roberts, who adds complexity and humanity to the outlaw archetype. The narrative is rich with symbolic foreshadowing and philosophical music, tune employing a non-linear storytelling style emphasizing mood and atmosphere our traditional plot progressive films, pacing deliberately slow, allowing viewers to savor and sort each silent, each visual detail, creating a impressive experience, cinematic style and directions. Leon direction is characterized by meticulous, complex composition, innovations, camera work, and mystery of visual storytelling. Some notable archetypes include long shots and landscape, the vast pronounce of Mount Vent Valley serve as a character in their own right, emphasizing the grandeur and desolations of the West. Leon's use of wide-angle shots captured the expansive landscape, highlighting themes of isolations and change. Close-ups: Leon's signature use of extreme close-up intensifies emotional expression. The eyes of characters, particularly during moments of tensions of revelations, convey more than word cloud, delayed pacing, and silence tunes, deliberate pacing, allowing tense skills to breathe, bold tensions, cordially saying silence. Stillness are used effectively to heighten suspense, especially before climate confrontations. Innovative framing and angles. Film employs unconventional camera angles, short high, short title frame that add mythic, almost surreal quality to the visual lighting. The color lets the use of nature lighting and warm early color plates above the vessels and beauty of the furniture. So next king is Mansin. This person with we work with three king Jahangir, Shahjahan, Aurangzeb. औरंगजेब मानसिंह को शिवाजी के खिलाफ भेजता है और शाहजहां ने इसे मिर्जा राजा की उपाधि प्रदान की और जहांगीर ने इसे अहमदनगर मलिक अंबर के खिलाफ भेजा था। इसे सॉरी गाइस आई रॉन्ग। मान सिंह को अकबर ने पहले 5,000 का मनसब प्रदान किया और 1605 में इसे 7,000 का मनसब प्रदान किया। उसे काबुल और बिहार और बंगाल का गवर्नर बनाया गया। काबुल में इसने अकीम विद्रोह का दमन किया था, इसलिए जीत के पश्चात उसका झंडा सफ़ेद या पंचरंगा था, लेकिन पहले उसका झंडा था सफ़ेद या झाड़ सा। बिहार में उसने अपूर्णमल, अनंत चेरो, रामचंद्र देव को पराजित किया और पश्चिम बंगाल के पूर्वी बंगाल के राजा केदार को हराया और वहाँ से शीला माता की मूर्ति लेकर आया और उसे आमेर में स्थापित किया। जो शीला माता है वो कछुआओं की कुल देवी है, इष्ट देवी है। इष्ट देवी है और मानसिंह ने कई किलों का भी निर्माण किया, लेकिन अकबर ने उसे मिर्जा राजा फर्जन की उपाधि भी प्रदान की। और इसके बारे में ज़्यादा कुछ खास तो नहीं है, लेकिन याद करता हूँ अगर कुछ हो तो। छोड़ो यार, तेरी बहुत है। अभी हम बात करते हैं मिर्जा राजा जय सिंह। इसने 3 राजाओं के साथ कार्य किया और औरंगजेब ने इसे शिवाजी के खिलाफ भेजा और शाहजहां ने इसे मिर्जा राजा की उपाधि प्रदान की और जहांगीर ने इसे अहमदनगर मलिक अंबर के खिलाफ भेजा। पुरंदर की संधि 1665 में हुई थी और उसमें शिवाजी को अपने 35 किलो में से 23 किले शिवाजी को देने पड़े थे, मिर्जा राजा गुगलू को देने पड़े थे। और इसके साथ ने जय सिंहपुरा की स्थापना की और जयगढ़ की स्थापना की, जिसे झील का टोला भी कहा जाता है। Music and sound design and even more score is internal to film emotional and thematic depth. The most famous motifs, the hunting Emerick recused throughout symbolizing the revenge and the inexorable smarts of history. The score combines Western motifs and with classical and event-bred element, creating a timeless soundscape that enhances every sense. Scans Montgomery's use of silence, ambient sound, and musicals cues heightens tension and emotional resonance. The soundtrack not only complement Leo's puzzle but also relevant the films to an operatic level. Sound design emphasizing the harsh of the frontier wasting paint, decent variant gunshots, further embracing the viewers in the troubled landscape. Henry Fonda portrayals of Frank is a character defining performance known for wholesome rules Fond's transformation into a cold, calculating will was groundbreaking. His claim, massive demeanor combines with the ruthless cruelty made him a truly lightning antagonist. Charlie Bronson as a harmonica embodying notices mystery and resolves his presence gas and minimal dialogues create a character that is both mythic and deeply human. This backstory intertwined with Frank's driven the film's emotional core Claudi cardinals is symbolic of resilience, embodying strength and hope for transformations from morning windows to determinate landmarks reflect the resilience of the human spirit amid choose reason reward a silence add complexity and the outlaw archetype portrays morally ambiguous characters who seek redemption and humans connection his relationship with Jill and harmonicas enriches the narrative and moral landscape themes and symbolism. The film explores profound themes since and the end of an era, the West is depicted as a land in transitions facing industrialization, land duplicate, and moral decay. The arrival of the railroad symbolism progress, but also explorations and destructions. Revenge and justice and revenge characters quest for many you driven most of the plot, raising questions about morality, faith, and the cost of revenge. Myth versus religions blurs as the lines between mythic storytelling and gritty realism, creating a layered narrative that innovate interpretations, faith and invincible music motif and visual cues emphasizing idea that certain events are destined to unfold, reinforcing the film's operatic grandeur, moral ambiguity, characters operate in shadow of gray, challenging viewers notice. Noticing of good and evil employs recurring symbolic symbols such as the train representing progress, the conflict as a mythic continuations, and the landscape itself as a reflection on characters in status, legacy, and cultural impact. Once upon a time in the West has had an enduring influence on cinema and redefines the Western genre, emphasizing styles, mood, and philosophical depth. Its innovative cinematography and editing techniques have inspired countless filmmakers. The film's score remains iconic, often different or parodies its popular culture. It had been loved by critics and cinephiles worldwide, often include in list of the greatest film ever made. The film's themes of change, progress, and moral ambiguity remains relevant across genre and eras. Critical and audience reception initially the films received mixed reviews to its incontroversial pacing and stylish choice, but our time is gained recognition as masterpiece. Modern critical praised its visionary direction, visual poetry, and profound storytelling. Audience appreciate its immersive experience and mythic grandeur, conclusion, and unpredictable masterpiece. In closing, once upon a time is the best and monumental work that combines artist vision with storytelling depth. It's a film that demands patience and reward review with a rich tapestry of visuals, music, and thematic which capture the mythic spirit of the West while exploring timeless questions about sense, morality, and human nature. Whether viewed as a Western and operatic masterpiece or a philosophical meditational tunes, the film remains timeless and enduring testament of cinema's power to elevate the storytelling beyond mere entertainment into art. Ultimate in depth analysis and complete review of Once Upon a Time in the West 1968 introduction as cinematic landmark. Once Upon a Time in the West, directed by Sergio Leone, is widely regarded as one of the greatest films ever made, not only within the Western genre but also in the history of cinema overall. It is a film that defines conventional storytelling, blending operatic visual, profound themes, and innovative filmmaking techniques used to create a masterpiece that continue to captivate audience and influence filmmakers worldwide. This film is a testament to Leon's genius and epic that combines myth storytelling with meticulous craftsmanship, elevating the westerns from the mere genre fare to profound explorations of human nature, social sense, and mythicking. Its influence extend far beyond its initial release, inspiring countless direction writer and artists across generations. Historical and cultural context. Once upon a time in the West was conceived during a period of cinematic experimentations and cultural upheaval. The late 1960s saw Hollywood grappling with the breakdowns of classical studio filmmaking, will European cinema, especially Italian cinema, while pushing boundaries with new styles and narrative structures. Leon's working primarily with an Italian crew and French influences film with European sensibility, more poetic, more contemporary, and more operative than traditional American Western. This was also a time when the Western genre was undergoing critical replacement, moving away from simplification to darker, more complex portrayals of morality. The film's theme resonates with the social questions of progress and industrialization, highlighting by the unstoppable expansions of the railroad and the explorations of land and People it reflect Accenture's strategic modernization capability and the loss of innocence framed through the lens of myth and legend, plot and narrative structure. Uh, in intricate tapestry, the narrative of Once Upon a Time in the West is deliberately complex, layered with symbolism and thematic research. It essays conventional linear storytelling. It in favor of a poetic, almost mythic approach. The film begins with a slow hunting sequence. A man is murdered, left to die in the dust, setting a tone of brutality and invincibility. This opening sequence is the masterclass in stabilizing what long shot of the desolate landscape, silent, broken only by ambient sound and Morricone's haunting harmonic motifs. The story uh, then unfolds throughout multiple intertwined plot ironic so vendetta, a mysterious gunman with harmonica and perishing eyes whose backstory is gradually relevant. His quest for revenge against Frank is driven by a personal tragedy symbolic. The themes of redemption, Frank's ruthless ambitions, a cold, calculating villain who embodies in, in his interactions with other characters, reveals his manipulation and violent nature. While MC Baines wrestling a widow who inherits her husband's land, standing as a symbol of hope and perseverance amidst chaos. Silence, moral ambiguity of form, outlaw six, and self-protection, the with other characters reveal his manipulations and violent nature, and Spain's resilience, window who inherits husband's land standing as a symbol of hope and perseverance and choose Chai Henry's moral ambiguity, a former outlaw who seeks redemption, respecting the human's captivity for change and moral complexity. Leon employs and non-linear narrative with the scans of turns playing out in a deliberate slow rhythm. The tensions build gradually within moment of silence and stillness, heightening anticipations. Leon's use of foreshadowing and visual motifs create a great sense of mythic intangibility, cinematic technique, artistry in every frame. The direction is characterized by groundbreaking cinematography and visual storytelling. Some of the most notable techniques include use of landscape, Leon's expansive shots of mountain valley, its recute time is endless. Desert and open skies serve as a more than just a scenery. They are symbol of the furniture, grandeur, and brutality. This ride sort evoke a sense of timeless, emphasizing the mythic scales of the story, close-up and characters portrays Leon's mystery of close-ups, particularly of eyes, hand, and face, serve to convey intense emotional and psychologically depth. A famous close-up of Charlie Bronson's eyes peering through the frame creates a sense of chaotic resolve and mystery. Camera angles and framing. Here, unconscious framing law jingles, subtle illusions imbues scans with a mythic, almost circular quality. This technique heighten tension and make ordinary moments seem monumental. Use of silence and stillness. Leon's deliberate pacing involves long few silent compositions and minimal dialogues which allow viewers to embrace himself fully in the atmosphere. Silence becomes narrative tools, emphasizing suspense and mood. Editing and rhythm. Leon's editing style emphasizing a slow, deliberate rhythm contrasting God's moment with sudden burst of violence. This dynamic pacing heightens emotional impact and creates a phonetics viewing experience, lighting and color palette, natural lighting and warmth early to dominate the film's visual aesthetics. The use of shadow and light enhance the mood of underscore thematic and contrast. Good Vervius pursues will progress versus traditional sound and music and operation soundscape. Ennio Morricone's score is arguably the film's most iconic element. The hunting harmonica theme secures throughout symbolizing faith, revenge, and the inexorable flows of time. Score and significance. The harmonica motif acts as a leitmotif for harmonious characters and his quest the school's sparse, atmospheric, melodious, evoke long lines, tension and grandeur. Morricone's innovation use of conventional instrument and motifs creates a timeless operative quality sound design. Ambient sound, wind, distance, rain, gunfire, air, meticulous, layered, impressing viewers in the brutal yet poetic landscape. The soundscape enhance the film mythic tone and emotional depth, performance and characterization depth and nouns. Henry Fonda portrayals of Frank is revelations a stark departure from his earlier role. His cold, calculated villains, Cecily embodying the corrupting influence of greed and power. Charles Bronson as a harmonic is stoic and enigmatic. His minimal dialogues and piercing gaze create a mythic, almost archetypal figure of justice and revenge. Penitence, Claudia Coordinate portrays resilience and moral stand their character's evolution from driving window to determinate and symbolism hope and renewal. Jason's Roberts as a dynamic bringing depth to the outlaw archetype, portraying a morally complex characters capable of both violence and compositions, themes, and symbolic explored the passage of the time and the end of the Old West. The film widely depicted the transition from the lawless frontier to a modern industrialized society, the relentless march of the rivalry symbolizing progress but also explorations and destructions, revenge and justice. These main characters quest for revenge, explore moral ambiguity and the cost of revenge. Harmonic, silent, used contrast with frank, calculated evil, raising questions about morality and faith, myth and reality. Leon blurs the light between mythic storytelling and gritty realism, creating a mythic landscape, faith, and invincibility. Music motifs, visuals, cues, and narrations foreshadowing reinforce the idea that certain events are invincible, emphasizing the mythic skill of the story, moral ambiguity, and human nature. The film challenges traditional notions of good virtue, portraying characters operating in shades of grey, highlighting the complexity of human morality, symbolism. The train as a symbol of progress, as explorations, the gunslinger as a mythic hero, the land as a symbol of opportunity and destructions, the music motifs and representations of desire and emotional status, influence and legacy. Once upon a time in the that profoundly impact cinema. Once upon a time, the West profoundly impacted cinema. It set new standard for visuals, storytelling, influencing like Quentin Tarantino brought in its innovative use of cinematography, editing, and music has become a backmark the film's mythic tone and themes continue to resonate, inspiring introspections and homage. It helped elevate the Western to form high for art, inspiring subsequent generations to view genre film as capable of profound artistic expressions, critical reception, and cultural impact. Uh, Initially, some critics found the film's pacing slow and its style overly deliberate. However, over time, critical conjugations shifted recognized it as a masterpiece. Modern audience and scholars loved its visual poetry, uh, thematic depth, and revolutionary filmmaking. The film has been praised, restored multiple times, ensuring it's available for new audience. Its influence is evident. It's a countless film, the television show, and even video games that draw upon its mythic storytelling and visual styles behind the scenes and a anecdotal insight. Leon's meticulous planning innovated storyboarding every shot, emphasizing the importance of visual storytelling. The use of real locations in Mountain Valley added authentic and grandeur. Henry Fonda casting as the villains was a deliberate serve of his wholesome image, shocking audience and criticals like Morricone score was composed before filmmaking guidance of cinematography and agility, conclusion and an enduring masterpiece. Once Upon a Time in the West is a monumental achievement, a film that combines visual poetry, narrative complexity, and philosophical depth is transcend the Western genre to become a universal meditation on science, morality, and myth. Leon's visionary direction combined with hunting score, powerful performance, and evocating cinematography creates an embraced experience that continue to resonate. It is a film that never demand patience and reward viewers with a profound, timeless reflection on human's nature and the mythic landscape of the American West. So as you continue, I tell you new information. Ultimate extended in-depth analysis and complete review of Once Upon a Time in the West 1968. Once Upon a Time in the West, directed by Sergio Leone, is heralded as one of the greatest film ever made, a towering masterpiece that redefines the Western genre and elevates cinema as an art form. Its grandeur, depth, and innovations have cemented its place in cinematic history, influencing countless filmmakers and captivity audience worldwide for over 5 decades. This film is not merely a western; it is putting meditations on science, morally, mythic, and humans' destiny. Leon's visionary approach combined with masterful storytelling, visual, poetic, and haunting musical score creates an immersive experience that transcends genre boundaries and remains profoundly relevant. Historical, cultural, and artist context. The cinematic landscape of the 1960s. By the late 1960s, the Western genre was undergoing a transformation. Traditional westerns had often been formulaic, emphasizing clear-cut heroes and villains with style-forward attitude, celebrating Americans' value of rugged individuals. However, filmmakers begins to question these conventions, exploring darker themes, moral ambiguity, and complex characterizations. In Europe, especially Italian cinema, was experienced resistance known as the Italian neorealism and later the Spartan Western movement. Leons, key figures in the movement, brought Europeans susceptible of American genre filmmaking influence into with operative scales, poetic visuals, and philosophical depth. Leon's artist visions. Leon's Once Upon a Time in the West was a response to and a refinement of this Leon cinematic view. It was conceived as an epic mythic debut and operative western that elevates the genre storytelling through art. Leon sought to challenge audience expectation, employing unusual technique, deliberate pacing, and symbolic storytelling. Themes and modernity and myth. The films reflect anxiety about progress and end of an era, the arrival of the Lord symbolizing introspection, capitalism, and social transformations, but also bringing explorations and loss of innocence. Leon's portrayal of the West is both mythic and critical, and ode to grandeur and critiques of brutal change, plot and narrative architecture as layered tapestry. One upon a time in the West feature sprawling on non-linear narratives that view multiple stories into mythic motions. Its opening sequence is one of the most iconic in cinema setting. The tune for the film deliberating pacing and poetic storytelling, opening sequence, and epic montage. The film begins with the slow tension fade montage. A man playing a hunting tunes of his harmonica, accompanied by the distant sound of and trains. The camera captured the vast desolate landscape, wide shots of the emptiness and grandeur of the furniture. The scans establish the themes of the faith, revenge, and impending change, characters, introductions, and their intertwined faith. Hero Monica, a mysterious, silent figure whose patient gaze and haunting melody suggest a personal vendetta. His backstory gradually revenge, a tragic past and accused for justice. Frank, the embodies for evil, portrayed by Henry Fonda, his claim polit Demeter masked a brutal, manipulative nature. Fonda, casting as an villain, was a bold departure from his usual heroic roles, subverting audience expectations. James being a resistant widow who inherited her late husband led her journey from grief to strength, symbolize hope and renewables. Cynemus, a morally complex outlaw played by Jason Robert, embodying the possibility of redemption amidst narrative device. Leon employs a non-linear narrative with the scans unfolding out of chronological order, emphasizing mood, symbolizing, and thematic resonate. Pacing is slow and contemplative, allowing viewers to absorb each shot, each silence, and each visual motif. Climatic confirmation, the symbol's moment. The film's climax is a masterclass in tensions, pulling the long-awaited gunfight in the train sessions is shot with meticulous precision, emphasizing silence, anticipations, and mythic confrontations between good and evil, cinematic technique and visual poetry. Craftsmanship is evident in his innovative use of cinematography, framing, and camera. Landscape is characters, the vast sweeping visuals of momentum really serve as more than scenery. They are integral to the narratives, representing the grandeur and brutality of the furniture. Leon's use of wide angle shots captures the expansive rhythm, symbolic, the thematic scale of the story, close up and emotional intensity. The signature use of extreme close up, particularly of eyes, hands, and face, heightens emotional stakes, the intense glass of harmonic claim, meanings of frank and jealous expansions, convey complex inner world beyond dialogues, conventional framing and compositions. Use employs low angle shots, titles, heroines, and off center emphasizing to create a mythic, almost surreal visual style. Themes, techniques, heightens tension and imbues scans with symbolic significations, use of silence and stillness. Leon's deliberation pacing often involves long pause, moment of silence, and minimal dialogues. This views build suspense, allowing film viewers to feel the might for each moment, making violence even more impactful, even with accurate लाइट एंड हब। तो गाइस आगे हम बात करते हैं सवाई जैसे जिसने मुल्ज़िम के खिलाफ आज़म का साथ दिया, लेकिन आज़म हार गया और इसलिए मुल्ज़िम यानी कि बहादुर शाह ने आमिर पर अधिकार कर लिया और उनके छोटे भाई विजय सिंह को वहाँ का राजा बना दिया। देवबार ये सब जुटे के बाद 1708 में वापिस बैठे सिंहासन पर। फिर उन्होंने बूंदी के उमेद सिंह के खिलाफ दलेर सिंह का साथ दिया और भरतपुर के मोहकम के खिलाफ उनके भाई बदन सिंह का साथ दिया। बदन सिंह ने डी की जागीर ब्रजराज की उपाधि प्रदान की। मोहम्मद शाह रंगीला ने उन्हें राजेश्वर की उपाधि प्रदान की। फिर उनका कुछ मराठों के साथ संघर्ष रहा। उनमें सबसे पहले पिलसुन नाम का एक युद्ध था और जो कि 1715 में लड़ा गया था और उसमें सवाई जय सिंह जीत गए थे। लेकिन बाद के दो युद्ध हुए। मंदसौर का और रामपुरा का युद्ध हुआ जिसमें दोनों बार हार गए। जो मंदसौर का जो युद्ध हुआ था वो हुआ था 1733 में और रामपुरा का युद्ध हुआ था 1735 में हुआ था। उनके बाद धौलपुर समझौता हुआ था 1741 में और शायद मोहम्मद शाह रंगीला का इसमें मुगल पर हुआ था। मराठा इसमें मोहम्मद शाह रंगीला प्रतिनिधित्व कर रहे थे। सवाई जय सिंह और सवाई जय सिंह ने असम के एक आयरन खाया था 1740 में। किले के जो जगह का जो पंडित था पंडित रत्ना का था और जो किले के दरवाजे बंद कर गए। लेकिन दीप सिंह कुमानी ने घोड़े को पकड़ लिया था। तो हम बात करते हैं उनके काव्य गुरु के गुरु ऐसे होते हैं। उनको से पंडित रत्नाकर पुंडरीक रत्नाकर मांगे थे। उन्होंने जय सिंह का क्लब सब रचा था और जगन्नाथ नाम के गुरु ने सिद्धांत सम्राट और सिद्धांत कौस्तुभ और मोहम्मद मेहरी था मोहम्मद शरीफ था। इन दोनों को विदेशों से पुस्तकें लाने के लिए भेजा गया था। और अगर अन्य की बात करें हम तो मेहरी मोहम्मद शरीफ हो गया। बुद्धि विलास कुछ था और केवल राम नयन राम ऐसे भी थे कुछ। और ये तो इनके हो गए कर्म। अगर हम उनकी बात करें तो उन्होंने जयपुर की स्थापना की 18/11/1727 में। इसके पंडित थे वास्तुकार थे पंडित विद्याधर भट्टाचार्य। उनको जयपुर को कैंटन सीन और बगदाद इराक की तरफ बसाया गया 9 वर्गों के सिद्धांत के आधार पर। तो जयपुर की जो पहली इमारत थी उसका नाम था बादल महल जिसे पूर्वी शिकारपुरी नाम से भी जाना जाता है और इन्होंने बनाया था नाहरगढ़ किला। जिसे सुंदरगढ़ भी कहते हैं। ये नारसिंह नामक सैनिक के नाम के नारसिंह भूमि राज्य मराठों से सुरक्षा के लिए बनाया गया था। और अगर हम चंद्र महल की बात करें तो यह अपनी स्वयं के लिए बनवाया था। और इसका सबसे ऊपरी मंदिर मुकुट मंदिर जो था गोविंद देव जी का मंदिर बनाया था। गोविंद जी सभी गोविंद जी का अपना दीवान मानते हैं। और एक हरमड़ा नहर का निर्माण करवाया था। और क्या था, काफी हो गए और काफी लगभग काफी याद है हमें। आगे देखते हैं तो अभी हम बात करते हैं ईश्वरी सिंह की बात करते हैं। देवरी समझौते के बाद ये समझौता हुआ था कि भाई चंद्र कंवर के जो बेटे हैं माधो सिंह उनको राजा बनाया जाएगा। लेकिन सवाई जय सिंह ने अपने बेटे ईश्वरी सिंह को राजा बना दिया। तो फिर जंग रुड़ी हुई शुरू हुई वापिस। अब इसके बाद अब की बात राजमहल का युद्ध 1747 में, जो कि ईश्वरी सिंह के साथ थे, सूरजमल वर्सेस माधो सिंह के साथ थे। मराठे तो थे माधो सिंह खुद ढाई और बूंदी का था उमेश सिंह और कोटा का था दुर्जन शाह। इसमें ईश्वरी सिंह जीत गया और इस जीत के बाद में ईश्वरलाल सरदासुली का निर्माण कराया गया था। एक और बाद में युद्ध हुआ बकरू का 1750। इसमें माधो सिंह जीत गया और इसके लिए ईश्वरी सिंह को माधो सिंह को 5 पराजय देने पड़े। मराठों को युद्ध का खजाना पड़ा। उमेश सिंह को और बूंदी का राजा बनाया गया। इसके बाद मराठों ने ईश्वरी सिंह को कर के लिए परेशान किया। इसलिए उम्मीद क्या नाम है भाई, ईश्वरी सिंह ने खुद कर आत्महत्या कर ली। फिर है माधो सिंह 1700 से 68, 1750 से 68 लगभग 18 वर्ष का इनका शासनकाल रहा था। और अभी इनकी बाद इन्होंने मराठों का कत्लेआम कराया। इनके शासनकाल में एक ही युद्ध हुआ, बटवाड़ा का युद्ध 1761 में माधो सिंह वर्सेस कोटा का था शत्रु शाह। रणथंभौर के किले को लेकर ये वो युद्ध हुआ था। इसमें माधो सिंह हार गया था। इनके बाद आते हैं माधो सिंह। इन्होंने कुछ सांस्कृतिक कुछ माधो राजपुरा को किला बसाया और 1763 में सोई मणिपुर की स्थापना की थी। इनका कुछ और भी होगा लेकिन अभी हमें इतना ही पता है। तो और अगर हम आगे बात करें तो स्वाई प्रताप सिंह आते हैं। उनके बाद इनका शासनकाल 1778 से 1803 के साथ पहले युद्ध हुआ तोंगा का, जो कि 1787 में हुआ था। जो कि कितने में हुआ था, 1787 में हुआ था। और प्रताप सिंह वर्सेज प्रताप सिंह के साथ थे विजय सिंह जोधपुर के। A short, a signature on the back of the river or to endorsement, endorsement, endorsement. A signature on the back of paper. A signature on the back of a paper or CQ endorsement. Showing contemplate, contemptuous, indifferent, supercilious, commandy. A short summary of a book or speech epitome, saransh, signal under martial law for people to remain indoors, curfew, showing deep sorrow for wrongdoing, con- contrite, a short Persian epigram Chutkula, a short journey for pleasure, excurism, excurism, Sir Sapata, a short journey for pleasure, excurism, excurism, Sir Sapata. So guys, close-up and emotional intensity. Leon's signature use of extreme close-up, particularly of eyes, hand and face, heightens emotional stakes and the intense gaze of harmonica. The claimants of frank and jail expressions convey complex inner world beyond dialogues in conscientious framing and compositions. Leon employs low-angle shots, titled heroisms and off-center compositions to create a mythic atmosphere. Cerebral visual style. This technique heightens tension and imbues scans with symbolic significance. Use of silence and stillness. Leo's deliberated pacing often involve long views, moment of silence and minimal dialogues. These pause build suspense, allowing viewers to feel the weight of each moment, making violence even more impactful. Even it occurs lighting and color palette. Natural lighting with warm, heartly tones and stark shadow evoke the ruggedness of the landscape and the moral complexity of the characters. Leon use of chiaroscuro enhance mood and symbolic contrast. Musical score and the sound designer sonorous masterpiece, Ennio's Morricone's score. The score is one of the most recognizable elements of the film, blending Western motifs with classicals and event. Great element, La Hunting, harmonica themes recuse throughout, symbolizing faith, vengeance and the inexorable faces of time. The Heromica as a light footive, the Heromica more powerful. Some reflect Heromica coast and film converges themes of destiny and retribution. It recovering presence create so cohesive music narrations, sound and atmosphere, ambient sound when distance, train gunfire are layered, meticulous, immersing viewers in the as frontal environment, silence and subtle ambient notice heightens and emotional depth uh, and characterizations. Mm, Henry Fonda as Frank. Fonda portrayal of Frank is a masterstroke in ice calculating Rain whose claimed demonious concludes as a brutality his transformation from the wholesome heroic roles of his past to a cold, manipulative antagonist was revolutionary. Charlie Bronson's as a harmonica. Bronson's stoic, minimalistic performance create mythic figures of justice. His facing gaze and quest intensity evoke a sense of inexorable purpose. Clouding Cordell as Jill's resilience and moral strength, embolizing hope amid shows her evolutionary from morning window for to determined landowner and underscore theme of reveals and humans and cure. Jason Rebord as a cynic rewards portal of shining adds moral ambiguity and depth. His character embodies the possibility of redemptions even is a corrupt world. Themes and symbolism and philosophical explorations and end of an era, the arrival of the rider signifies the transition from the build a loveless furniture to industries modernization. The land is both opportunity and explorations, reflect social shift, revenge and justice. Character quest for vegans to explore moral gray and ceremonial silent pursuit contrast with frank, calculated, ever-raising questions about morality, faith, and a cycle of violence, myth versus reality. Young Blur's mythic storytelling with gritty realism, creating a mythic landscape populated by morally complex characters. The film questions the humanizations of the West, faith and invisibility, music, motifs, visual cue, and native foreshadowing. The idea that certain event predominance, emphasizing the mythic scales of the story. moral ambiguity, and human nature characterize operate shades of grey, illustrating that morality is often complex and situations challenging traditional notice of heroism and villainy. Symbolic element, the train symbol of progress, destruction, and atmospheric change. The gunslinger mythic hero archetype embodying justice and vengeance, and symbols of opportunity, exploration, and renewal. Music represents destiny, emotional states, and thematic motifs, legacy, and cultural impact. Once upon a time in the West, profoundly influenced cinema, its visual style and narrative techniques set past standards. The film is operatic grandeur inspired many directions, including alternative and scores. Its scores become iconic, frequently referenced and parodied. It's redefined the Western genre as vehicles for philosophical inquiry and artistic expressions. Influence on other media. Film themes and visual language have permeated popular cultural uh, homage in film, television, music video, and video games reflect its enduring legacy, critical reception, and resistment. Initially, we met with a mixed review due to its slow pacing and unconventional style. The film for this reputations grew over time. Today, it's universally regarded as a masterpiece and exemplar of cinematic art. Restaurant and release lab introduced the film to the new generation cinematic. Its status as a timeless classic behind the scans inside the encapsulates Leo's meticulous predictions involved detailed storyboarding, emphasizing the importance of visual storytelling. The use of authentic location in momentum valley add realism and grandeur. Henry Fonda casting as the villain was a deliberate subversion, shocking audience and critics alike. Morrigan's score was composed before claiming influencing cataphornation by editing choice, conclusion and enduring masterpiece. Once upon a time in the West is not just a film, it's an experience in epic mythic debut that combines stunning visual, profound themes, and groundbreaking technique. Leon visionary directions, Maricon's hunting scores, and powerful performance closes to cinematic work of art that challenge and elevate the viewers. It remains a testament to the power of cinema to tell stories that are both personal and universal, timeless in their exploration of human nature, morality, and myth. Would you like me to? Oh, guys, next king is Jagat Singh. Jagat Singh. Second, 1800 से 1818 के बीच उनका शासनकाल रहा था। न- The definitive, unabridged, and exhaustive masterpiece review of Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, introduction and epic band genre. Once Upon a Time in the West and has a towering momentum in the cinematic history. An epic that transcended as the Western genre to become a profound meditation of human nature, social change, myth, and morality, directed by Sergio Leone. It is a film that challenges conventions, redefines storytelling, and elevates cinema into from a high art. Its influence is omnipresent and inspirations for generations of filmmakers, critics, and cinephile. The film grandeur, meticulous craftsmanship, and thematic depth make it not merely a film not to watch but an experience to embrace oneself. It repeatedly historical and cultural context, a deep dive, the Western genre evolutions. If all your masterpiece, Western were often formulate they deliberate, rugged individualism, history, and clear-cut morally, they think of Ron Wayne's figures or the straightforward narrations of Hollywood westerns. However, by the 1960s, audience and filmmakers sound for complex now storytelling, the emergence of spaghetti westerns, mainly Indian productions, brought a darker, more clinical view of the West film like Fruits of Colors and Food the Bad and the Ugly introducts morally ambiguous characters, gritty realism and stylized violence. Leon was at the forward, refining his aesthetic into an artful operation from Leon's artist intentions. Leon's mastery, storytelling, and visual style aimed to elevate the westerns beyond mere entertainment. He saw it as a mythic canvas and allegory for social appeal, transformation, and human morality. His goal was to craft a film that was both visually arresting and thematically profound, using the frontal landscape as a symbol of both opportunity and tragedy. Thematic underspinning. The film grapples with themes of progress, virtue, traditions, justice, virtue, revenge, and the inexorable passage of time. It's set against the backdrop of the dying West on the cusp, industrializations, modernized capitalism, those visions reflect as a European's perspective more poetic, contemplative and philosophically challenging American mythology of heroism and morality. Lord Jusai optimism and intervenes with depth the narrative and is a deliberate, complex layer with symbolism and poetic storytelling. Opening sequence, a silent hunting prelude. Okay, guys, ta.